right, good evening, everyone. My name is E.R. Anderson. I am the executive director of Charis Circle. Charis Circle is a nonprofit programming arm of Charis Books and South's oldest independent feminist bookstore. We're so excited to welcome all of you from all over the country to this virtual event in honor of a book that we have been hype about for like 8 months now. I think we've been like anticipating getting to talk about this book. Fearless, Sleepless, Deathless. What Fungi Taught Me About Nourishment, Poison, Ecology, Hidden Histories, Zombies, and Black Survival. We're here with Maria Pinto, who is the author, and Maria is here in conversation with Kiese Laymon, who is one of our all-time favorites. It's always a pleasure to have Kiese in the house. So thank you for being with us, coming in from Houston. This book, I'm not even going to try and describe it because y'all are going to get into it. But it is just such a beautiful, complex gift. And if y'all haven't got a chance to read it yet, you're going to love it. You're going to love this conversation. I'll tell you, I'm not gonna share the incredible full length bios of these folks, but I will drop them in the chat. I will. If you somehow don't know Kiese Laymon, he's a Black Southern writer from Jackson, Mississippi. He's the Libby Shern Moody Professor of English and Creative Writing at Rice University. He is the author of Long Division, which won the 2022 NAACP Image Award for Fiction, and the essay collection How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others in America, as well as his best-selling memoir, Heavy, an American Memoir. He has also recently written City Summer, Country Summer, which is a beautiful, beautiful children's book that we love at Charis. And he is the founder of the Catherine Coleman Literary Arts and Justice Initiative, which is a program based out of the Margaret Walker Center at Jackson State University. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And the person of the hour is Maria Pinto. When she's not in the woods, and sometimes when she is a writer, editor, and educator. She teaches writing and consults for the literary arts nonprofit Grub Street, where she was a community programs teaching fellow. She reads fiction per Periphery's Journal and serves on the board of Hale, an outdoor education and land conservancy nonprofit. Her fiction has appeared in Frigg, Necessary Fiction, Word Riot, The Butter, and Dostoevsky Wannabe Cities, Boston. Her nonfiction has appeared in so many places. I'm not going to read them all, but she has spoken about foraging, food autonomy, and fungal poetry, among other topics, online, on radio stations, on TV, all across podcasts, and has led some incredible workshops. So again, I'll drop her bio in the chat so that you can read more. But we want to get right into this conversation, and we want to invite you to be a part of it. So y'all can drop your questions in the chat at any time. And when it's time to incorporate those, we will do that. But first, I'm going to just kick it over to Kiese. And thank you all so much for being with us tonight.
Yo, thank you, ER. Can y'all hear me? Maria, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am giddy, hype, every hyperbolic word you can imagine to be here with this WonderCon. And I feel like I've done these kind of talks and I've said what I'm about to say, which is like, you have never read anything like this. But I need to slow it down. Like, you have never read a paragraph, like the first, second, third, fourth, fifth paragraph in this book. You never read anything. Or if you have, you haven't read it on Earth. And because this book shook me on the line level and the conceptual level so much, I'm begging Maria to read some of it. I want to hear it. I want to hear the voice of it. And if you do read for us, I just want to prepare the audience to be moved to a place that they probably haven't been moved before, unless, it's just a bunch of dope people out in the world writing this kind of stuff that I don't know about. But I just want to say first, before we begin, thank you. Thank you for being in a conversation. I feel so lucky to be here with you. And I just want to beg you to can I hear your voice explore some of what you did in this book?
Oh my goodness. Wow. To hear all of that from you, a person who has taught me how to ensure that no matter whether I'm cussing, no matter what I'm doing on the page, I am attempting to make the love shine through. Like, you taught me that. And so it's just such an honor to be here with you, talking to you, to now read in your presence.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to read from two sections of the book. One is the first essay. It's called In Search of Junjo. And junjo is the Jamaican word for fungus or mushroom. It starts with the Jamaican proverb, those who can't hear must feel. In a grassy island of a Target parking lot, I spot a flush of pleasantly plump, rose red capped mushrooms and make a beeline for them, my mother close behind. I drop to my knees, take note of the live oaks nearby, and tap the mushroom domes, pleased to hear the satisfying thunk that means they're solid inside, not squirming with maggots. Aren't they beautiful? I ask, snapping some photos before pulling out my fancy French mushroom knife to cut 6 or so fruit bodies off at the feet. My mother says yes, unironically, which surprises me until I try to see them through her eyes. This is likely the first time she's ever encountered such zesty fungal morphology up close. I stand and score the yellow pore surface of one of the mushrooms with my knife. A family walks by, bags in hand. The little kids pause their bickering caravan to rubberneck, gaping at me, my knife, and my mother. The wound turns color instantaneously. That quick brew bluesing is a hint about who she is, I say, watching the family pile into their city block size SUV. My mother indulges me with an okay and unlocks the car so I can deposit the mushrooms on the floorboard. As we shop for face cream and a whisk, this was before the boycott, y'all. I think about how the search for mushrooms has rendered the land I used to tread inattentively in 3 dimensions. There's no dead space anymore. It's all animate. Last week, I'd crouched to examine a train wrecker mushroom growing from a downed fence post in an abandoned lot and was reminded of the concept of edgelands, as described by poets Paul Farley and Michael Simmons Roberts, locations in urban and suburban environments that are so difficult to acknowledge that they barely exist. But of course, they too constitute the earth. Later, in the lawn in front of my mother's condo, I see some more rose red boletes. I grab them and point out to her that these, unlike the target specimens, seem to be wearing fishnets on their stems. While my mother trains one eye on her 5th consecutive episode of the 90s British drama Heartbeat and the other eye on a shopping tab in her browser, I sprawl on the floor with boletes of Eastern North America, a laptop open to mushroomobserver.com, and one of my rose red capped blue staining boletes lying on the page next to its 2-dimensional mirror image. So far, I've arrived at Pulchro boletus rubrocitrinus for the parking lot specimens and Exudoporus floridanus for the lawn variety. Keying them out took a minute, and throughout the process, my mother kept asking if I knew what they were yet, an annoying karmic comeuppance for my own endless questions during long road trips 3 decades before. Now I say, you see all these guys, how they look almost identical at first glance, but they're actually completely different species? I flip through the pages to punctuate my point. Those are all different, she gapes, her glasses way down on the bridge of her nose. Yep, some are choice edibles, some reportedly taste bad, and some will put you on the toilet for a while. My mother shakes her head and looks back at the television. In Jamaica, we had 2 names for mushrooms, junjo and duppy umbrella. I pause mid-flip, processing what she just said. What? Those were the 2 categories. It was much simpler. Duppy, of course, means ghost, so duppy umbrella is a word picture akin to toadstool, but the other term had tripped a memory. Junjo, its syllables pleasingly reverberant in the mouth, sent me spinning down a Google rabbit hole, as might any offhand comment linking one's obsession to one's culture in a previously undreamt of way. This hole in the grass was quite welcome, not least because I was slated to give a talk about fungi and the African diaspora in a couple of months and had been hunting for ways to braid my own Jamaican American identity into the conversation. I'd hit a wall there, though I had a hunch that, like so much about my people, their relationships to foraging had been coded, forcibly hidden, buried, or never written about. Everything I had managed to find suggested that Anglophone Caribbeans just wanted nothing to do with mushrooms, to the point where they weren't even discussed. Nevertheless, I'd heard junjo before. When I was growing up, my family used the patois word to refer to dirt or schmutz that had collected in a place, giving it an untidy appearance. This made sense because the word's more specialized usage referred to fungi that present as a fine coating on something, molds and mildews. But it was a letdown if the only time Jamaicans used their most common word for fungi, they were doing so to disapprove. Say, to tell a kid who had just polished off a mud pie to wash the filthy junjo off her face. But somehow I felt the word had held more. Also the world. I said the word, junjo, 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 repeatedly there in the living room while my mother tried to follow a conversation between the cute constable and his love interest until it hit me. Not my mother, though I'm sure she wanted to. Huh, junjo kinda sounds like John John. What? My mother asked, distracted. Nothing. John John is both the Haitian Creole word for mushroom and for the specific type of mushroom that Haitians use to flavor and dye black one of their national dishes, diri ak John John. Rice cooked in the liquid left from boiling a dried Sathirella or Candoliomyces fungus with herbs and spice is, Haitians know, rice at its best. So far, the first Black republics foraging and cookery were the only thing keeping me from giving an entirely aspirational talk about wanting to help fight mycophobia among Black diasporic people. So paltry was the evidence that other Black folks scattered about the globe had taken any of the mother continent's mushroom love to their new lands. Idly, I plugged the terms Junjo, Duppy Umbrella, and John John into Google. When I did, something tantalizing happened. I was given a window to a past I did not know possible before my mother offhandedly spoke the possibility into existence. Jamaicans and those residing on the island in a colonial capacity had been talking about local funga for a long time. This fact and others related to it would point away, not home exactly, but toward a tradition I did not know I was hungry to join. A little bit of hydration there in between. So just very, very quickly, this is a 2 paragraphs long from Ophiocordyceps, the essay entitled In Search of Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, or the zombie ant fungus. Starts with 2 epigraphs, both of them from Timothy Morton's Dark Ecology. To be a person is to be worried that you might not be. Coherence is when the parts of an object weirdly overlap so that they become the same thing. The ant lists this way and that like she's crossfaded. She has never been this off task. Anytime she tries to ascend into the canopy where her life has been spent in galleries carved through the dead branches of the tree in service of her queen, she convulses, staggers, and falls to the ground where she's pulled from one queendom to another. Where her volition was, or where the thing that might be considered her volition would be if she was truly individual rather than a cell in a superorganism, there is now Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. It works through her, straining her corpse toward an undreamt of goal. Is there anything more lonely than this? A eusocial being in her moment of mortal digression away from the body of the colony? Anything more supremely wrong? She is a zombie. This is the technical term. This is how the biologists refer to her because parasitized ant doesn't contain the cross-species body horror an onlooker is sure to feel when, at solar noon, the parasite makes the ant clamp violently down on a vein on the underside of a low-slung leaf and stay clamped there until well after her eyes have gone dim. She looks like herself, but she is mycelium made ambulatory, until such a time as her body more directly expresses its new genetic aims by becoming a fungal sculpture, bursting cottony at the seams. And what a sculpture it will be. A little too much, self-consciously macabre, a bit emo, to be honest. How like her brain on a stake the parathecia looks, as if speared by this new horn on her head. With such ornamentation, the shell of her frozen in a stance she would never have taken in life, she is a former ant, teeming with her own death.
Oh, that's too good. It's too good. I want to just start with the sentence. First of all, thank you for letting me hear that and letting these folks hear. And we have limited time, so and again, like if I'm like overwhelming you with like questions, please know it's just because I really just want to know. And so my first question is like, there's this sentence where you say, before mushrooms, blackness used to be much less expansive.
Mm.
You explore that in the piece, but can you talk to me more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's a tricky territory to tread here, right? Because there's the blackness of, the complex social fiction that, is invented in order to control and to pit people against each other. And then there's the beautiful communal thing that Black people do together, um, to make culture and to make art and to make beauty and to survive. And I think that the there's a way in which sometimes I felt divorced from a capital B blackness, because I was no longer the feral kid who, was running up and down and who was in relation to, um her more than human kin in a regular sort of, in a way that reinforced all of that culture, all of that past. And so, I think I went to the woods, and not everyone has to, but I went to the woods to find the capital B blackness that grows up out of the ground for me, in
Yeah,
the form of fresh food that, I live here in the frozen north. So even though fresh food has always been very important to me, as a Caribbean first and foremost, and then, as a person who grew up with, just a family where food was very, very important. For what family is food not very, very important, right?
right.
But, just to go back and to be sort of deracinated a little bit, because I'm not thinking about how I appear to others when it's just me and the woods and the, coyote over there and the owl in the tree. It's a more there's a way in which the folkloric aspect of my blackness gets to come
Yeah,
to out to play a little bit, right? Because I'm like dodging spider webs and Anansia's right there, and
right.
I don't know. There's just a way that it became more mine and felt less conferred,
Yeah,
or more mine and less imposed
right.
from without, and less of a it's less of a response to whiteness. you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
so
You talked about or you gave a little epigraph from my colleague Timothy Morton.
mhm.
They are phenomenal intellect, but also just like a human being. Um, and whenever I'm around Tim, I often just feel like I am allowed to do the quote unquote weird shit that nobody else allows me to do. And your book did the same work for me, right? Like I carried it around with me that first week, and not just that it made me feel like I could take off my shoes and put my
Mhm.
feet into some dirt in order to make me feel like I could actually like go out and just be still and see if mosquitoes would actually bite me. But it just made me feel like I could wear what I actually wanted to wear. I could smell what I wanted to smell. I could talk about the smells. And you seem so intimately like committed to the reader, to us.
Mhm.
And so much so that you address the reader as reader. Can you talk about that move in this book?
Yeah. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that comes across, that I kind of want to bring the reader into the woods with me.
Yeah.
I want it to feel like you're taking a hike with your friend, and we're just sort of commenting on the things that we're seeing together. The direct address, I think, also feels to me as someone who leads forays regularly, and one of the best ways to get people to pay attention, to, you know, be engaged, is um to say, hey, you, so what words come up for you when you hear the word fungus or mushroom or whatever. So I think there's a little bit, because um fungi are so mysterious to people, and even the people who are studying it, it's mysterious to us, right? The world of fungi. So a little bit, I wanted that intimacy because I wanted to bring folks along on my research too. I wanted them, I wanted it very much to feel like you were talking to someone who was an enthusiastic learner. And I think there is no quicker, like, it's a shortcut almost to that sort of camaraderie, and to bring the reader along by just saying, hey, you, I see you. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Reading this book in 2025 was a gift to me personally, because I've been thinking a lot about, I was talking to Roxane Gay about this like a year or two ago. And the way Roxane uses information in one of her essays that came out actually probably like in 2019. Um, and I'm like obsessed with writers who can make the information feel like dramatic and dialogic, right? And you do that, right? Like of course you're teaching those of us who do not know anything about fungi. Of course you're teaching those of us who think we don't know anything about the natural world. But you're also doing something that I feel like is sort of like wholly different than that, in that you are like educating, titillating, and dramatically like shifting us with information. So one of the ways you do this is in the piece you just read, you talked about zombies. So I just want to ask like a few direct questions, and if you don't want to, or if you can actually say like I explore that in the book because you do, but I just also want to hear your voice. Like, what is a zombie, and why are zombies so necessary for us in the natural world and our like lexicon? Like, why is the word so important?
Yeah. It's a great question, and um I wonder if I have a good answer, or a even, yeah, a sufficient one. I think so. Literally, the sort of revenant space, the moment when a body is not ensouled. There's several examples of that in mythology and in literature, and then you get to this moment where you're observing a creature that is behaving in ways that make no sense for that creature to be behaving. And I guess it's almost like um it's irresistible. It's irresistible as a shorthand for this this body that has been ensouled, but via like a kingdom that it is not even a part of. Um the first time I learned about Ophiocordyceps, I think it was a BBC video that was going around and everyone was watching, and you know, we were passing it around among ourselves like, can you believe this thing? This fungus takes over. This fungus, which does not have a nervous system, is taking over the system of you know, a being that does. And what does that mean? Like, what does it mean about intelligence? What does it mean about um animation? What does it mean about, like, what, yeah, there's I think there are things that science cannot explain. And so uh because it's a way of knowing that is divorced from spirit, a lot of times, the way that it's practiced in a certain realm,
Yeah.
right? And so when you look at something like that, and it defies our understanding of what it means to be two discrete organisms, and they've come together in this way that kind of does not really make any sense. Zombie is the only term almost that you can use. It's almost irresistible. I don't know.
Wow. I love that. I love that. You I mean the book is I'm glad you introduced the word love to this space. Uh because a lot of us live in this like literary world where we expect like mushrooms and fungi to not exist next to like blackness and or black love and love,
Mm,
love, love,
mm,
love. Um, there's a deep appreciation for wonder in what we call space and natural world. And there's this sentence, not everything is for us. And I wonder if you can talk about like the collision of that sentence, not everything is for us, and the experience of making some of us feel like everything in this natural world is for
mm,
us.
yeah. Yeah. So that sentence comes in the essay about poison,
Mhm.
and it's very easy to get there from the position of we've just been exploring these compounds in these mushrooms that can undo your liver.
Yeah.
Um and we've just been exploring what it would have meant for people who are disenfranchised in so many ways to have the power to be able to undo the livers
Mhm.
of their antagonists. And I think that one of the reasons, and I think I end the essay saying not everything is for us,
Mhm.
and almost like an incantation, like three times, because I don't know that we believe that, even as we understand that there are these things in the natural world, there are these things buried under the permafrost that we do not need to be tangling with, right? There are these things that our actions, with the overuse of fossil fuels, will unleash. Not everything is for us to breathe, not everything is for us to extract from the earth, not everything is for us to manipulate. And it's a fine line to walk rhetorically, but I think it's an easy one to internalize, as people going out and making sure we honorably harvest, for instance, and um, make sure that what we're doing is sustainable. Not everything, as in like the whole world isn't for you. Like
Right.
leave some for someone else, right?
Right. 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 Right.
But then also, yes, there are also these arcane compounds, that once unleashed, who knows, what will happen. So I think there's a lot going on, um, in terms of just where should you tread, and
Yeah.
what should you allow yourself to think that you have jurisdiction over. Um,
I love it. And for folks who are just here, who might be into the book for different reasons, we're not gonna run away from the mushroom. And I
mhm.
wonder if you can just, and I think the book does this wonderfully, like, and it does this expansively. It doesn't just happen in one section. But can you talk about like your origin story, origin narrative with the mushroom? Like, when did the mushroom become so foundational to how you move, breathe, and love in this world?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think I've answered this question differently at different times.
Mhm.
I have recently remembered, I think this was something that I forgot, that um, I don't really remember how old I was, but there was a moment. I think this must have been, I accompanied my stepdad to his cricket games on Saturdays. It was the bane of my existence. I would have rather been doing anything else. The games were so long, um, and boring, and them little kids was bad too. Like I didn't want to get in trouble with it. Like I knew I'd get in trouble. Um, but I think that I had wandered away and beheld a stump. Like this was in a park where this game took place. And there was a stump, and it was covered in this very sort of, it was really gnarly looking. It was not like an attractive thing, but I couldn't look away. And I'm looking back in my mind's eye now at this kind of mostly just sense memory. And it looked like what I would probably call a reishi mushroom, Ganoderma. But the tropical variety of it that I'm less familiar with now because I don't live down there anymore. But it was just covering this log, and it was just clearly very virulent and very like, just like a disease clearly, and I could not look away. So that's the fact that I remember that now after, answering this question over and over again suggests to me that it made an impression that, kind of, well, obviously it never left.
Right.
But then I saw like a little fly agaric mushroom, cap and stem mushroom, the sort of like emoji mushroom.
Yeah.
And it looked like just an abandoned toy in the middle of the woods. And I took so many pictures of this. This was like over a decade ago, but it's still in my my iPhoto, and you can tell that I was like kind of entranced.
Yeah.
As well.
One of the things that you do so well and so engaging in this text is, you ask questions that at once seem to be actually like asked. Do you know what I mean? Like I think we read so many rhetorical questions in books that like when you finally when it seems like somebody's actually sincerely asking you something, you kind of want to look away and be like, stop asking me. And so I want to turn some of these questions on you. And one of the questions, which was like, an incredible question. And I'm sort of paraphrasing it because it's a much longer question. But the question was like, what would a true embrace of sex look like? Right? What would a true embrace of sex look like? Can you talk to us about that question and ultimately about that chapter?
Yes, yes. So that is in the essay on Schizophilum commune and its many genders, or its many mating pairs. Sorry. And it's about sluttiness. It's about wanting there to be sort of a more I don't know, a way of science communication, especially that is not obsessed with purity and
Right.
obsessed with ivory tower and all of that good stuff. So I use, for whatever reason, I decided that I would go with sex as
Right.
a way to get there. But I think that first and foremost, you need the consent. You need to be a student of consent in a way that is like ongoing. You never know what the next person's boundaries are going to be. So in order for us to get to a place where we truly know and truly embrace sex, we have to first grapple with this question of consent.
Right.
And I don't know that we really know, like, as a culture, what that means, what it really, really looks like. And so
Mhm.
that the being a student of it feels to me very important, to never stop learning what what boundaries look like for people, true ones.
Mhm.
Another thing is uh true bodily autonomy.
Mhm.
um and I feel like a lot of these ideas go part and parcel with our um it's weird to have the necropolitics that we do, but also to not really embrace death in the way that we certainly do not reckon with it in the ways that are healthy or would be healthy. um so this all sort of points to a rejection of flesh and fleshiness and infleshedness, corporeality, like all of the things that I think mushrooms bring up for people. This nature on steroids, right? Like this thing that comes up overnight, and you're like, where did that come from, and what is it doing here, and what is it doing in this ecosystem? um so I think part of the thing that makes people uncomfortable about mushrooms is that fleshiness, the fact that it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
plant. Like, what is that? Like, why does it look so much like skin? How
Yeah.
come, you know, penicillin can help me, like, because our genetics are so close? Like, there's all sorts of troubling stuff. And I think it has to do with this rejection of fleshiness, rejection of rot,
Mhm.
of 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 death ultimately. And you can't really have sex without, you can't have the good stuff or the real stuff without the sort of embrace of the flesh and the recognition that we all will die. And
Yeah.
so, um, does that answer the question? I feel like
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah,
all over.
that sold the book too. I mean, that yeah, yeah. I want to also encourage everybody, if you have questions, to put them in the question part of the chat, and we can try to get to all of them, and or as many as we can. I want to kind of like maybe turn the conversation a bit toward like the craft and like
Mm.
the way you crafted this book, and I want to start with humor. I'm sure people, when they write about this book, are going to be talking about like the unexpected usefulness of humor in here, because we don't often see the comic explored with like this quote unquote kind of exploration. But I can't imagine this book without like the way you do humor. Can you talk about how intentional or unintentional that is, and why you feel like humor and explorations of mushrooms and fungi are necessary?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you. I'm glad you found it funny. I'm glad I wasn't just shooting in the dark. The uh So first of all, mushrooms are funny. Mushrooms are just fun. They're like goofy. Um I did a walk a couple of days ago. Was it a couple of days ago or is it yesterday? Oh my goodness, I'm losing time. Um I did a walk recently, and one of the first things we found was a stinkhorn mushroom, and the genus name is Phallus ravenellii. They look like dicks. And one of the things that, like, people don't, like, understand is that you cannot get through, if you are a completely serious mushroom foray leader, you're not gonna people are gonna you're the foray is gonna run away with you, because people are going to be giggling when they find the mushrooms. They're like goofy looking, and they're tricksters, and they hide. So that's first and foremost. I couldn't imagine engaging with this topic. Um, Psilocybin mushrooms literally grow in shit. Like, come on, that's funny. People are like hunting for them. They're hopping over people's fences in
Right.
order to get these, you know. So uh I think that, yeah, it would have been a mistake to try to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
A lot of the history is very funny too, from our, like, remove of understanding some of the ecology a little bit better than some of the initial people who are naming these species. It's funny to engage with um, old white dudes who thought they knew everything and who definitely didn't.
Right.
So I think it's just paying attention to the subject matter, and yeah, I'm always trying to make people laugh
Yeah.
in every avenue of my life, sometimes to an inappropriate degree. So
And when I'm in classrooms learning with my students, I I tend to try to encourage them to see every sentence as a possibility. And
mhm,
the downside of that is that like you can get students, and we can become writers who every sentence is an opportunity to show the world I can write, as opposed
mhm,
to every sentence being an opportunity to like layer and texture and propel a team of sentences, which is what I feel like a book is.
yeah.
I just don't feel like you wasted. I'm sure you wasted a few sentences in here, but I couldn't find any. You seem to have so much attentiveness to the sentence, and the sentence that proceeds that sentence, and the sentence that precedes that sentence. Like I wonder if you can talk about the importance, And this might just be you might be I mean I can understand like I'm gonna ask a question and let you answer. Like can you talk about the importance of sentence making in this particular kind of exploration? Like how important are sentences to what you were doing? And what do you do with this notion of like the beautiful sentence?
Yes, great question. I am obsessed with sentences. I'm obsessed with the way they sound. I'm obsessed with their meanderingness or not.
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with what how long I can sustain one uh while also doing the work that the sentence needs to do. I'm obsessed with, yeah, everything, the rhythm, the sound, um the texture of the words in my mouth. I read everything out loud. I got so tired of this book because I had read it out loud so many times. And um so yes, it was vitally important that nothing ever felt clunky or rang false. And there's only so much time in the day, so there were definitely moments. There are definitely parts of the book that I now am like, oh, I would have worked on that a little bit more.
Really?
But yeah, there's I would work on uh everything until my dying day that I have ever put out if I had
Man,
my brothers, but we won't get into that. I've
do that.
well, I've talked too much in therapy about it.
Right,
And
right, right.
but yes, to answer the question, I absolutely want these sentences to feel like a team and to feel like they are, you know, passing the ball among themselves and making sure that like the little staccato one that comes in after the long sequence, the that yes, they are attempting to lift up off the page
Yeah.
sometimes and to sing. That
And,
helps.
because you're so because it feels like you're so attentive to the sentence, it makes me feel like I can ask questions that I otherwise would think would be like, too broad or often like too specific. But you read this book and you get a chance to talk to the author. You want to ask this question, which is like, I wonder if you can talk about how and why, or if like freeness is important to us, like as black, like with people with black subjectivities, and to mushrooms. Like, is there something that connects our desire and
Mm.
our being free, or our want for freeness, like something that connects you and me to that mushroom? And I think if you read the book, there's so many answers to this question, but I just want to I want to hear your answer to
Mm.
the question.
Yeah. Yes, I love this question. So right off the bat, I talk about how myceliation, the sort of spreading out, the way that mushrooms digest and the way that they live their life way is to move through, environments, ecosystems in this questing way from the inside out, digesting as they go, and that freedom of movement that comes from moving in that way. So for instance, the humongous fungus out in Oregon. I don't know if y'all know about this, but there's a functionally immortal being in the form of this honey mushroom out in Oregon. It is the largest organism we have. It's one of the oldest. It's just a clonal organism that has been just going for a very long time. And I mean, okay, so it's free to destroy. It's free to parasitize that whole forest. Um and that's not necessarily what I mean. What I mean is uh, the ability to move through a subject, move through a space, and then throw up the spores when it's time to like move along. When you've um and that feels to me like, even though I talk about how mushrooms aren't metaphors, like a very important metaphor for the freedom to move on to the next thing when this system, for instance, is not working anymore, to decompose the thing, to like compost it. All right, we're done. We're no longer doing capitalism, for instance. We're moving on to the thing that actually works. um I think that sort of life way is inspiring and can teach us about what how to move through the world. Move in silence, move in quiet. Black people know how to do this very well. Have your underground networks. Um, you know, ensure that everyone is taken care of. Have the mutualisms that are necessary, and then sporulate.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to ask these. I want to make sure I get these questions. Um, so this one person says, haven't read the book. What is an example of white dudes who didn't know much? Where is indigenous knowledge coming in now related to fungi? Yeah.
Yeah. What white dudes who didn't know much. There was a lot of them on Jamaica, writing about Jamaican natural history, in ways that they certainly weren't consulting, um, the indigenous populations um, that would have been able to say and would have been able to tell them all about what was going on. But there's this one specific guy, I'm not going to remember his name, who said something about how like a specific type of mushroom didn't, or what it was that Jamaicans don't know about mushrooms because there are only a couple that grow and none of them are native to Jamaica. And it's like, what do you mean? What are you
Wow.
talking about? We
Wow.
know better now, but like it was a very bold thing to just out and say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of that kind of boldness in a lot of the science at the time.
And this is where's indigenous knowledge coming in now related? Um,
Where is indigenous knowledge coming
Now
in
related to
where?
fungi. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it never left.
Um,
The indigenous knowledge is, I mean, um, there's an essay in which I um hang out down in a Oaxaca cloud forest,
wow.
and um it's pretty amazing because we go on a foray, and the abuelas are at the identification table at the end, and this it's like this unbroken, just sort of handed down knowledge from millennia in their case, right? We have this very young mycophilia that's emerging here, in the so-called United States. But talk about like just folks who have had just an unbroken
Wow.
lineage of mushroom love and culinary mushroom love, all sorts of um, just everything you could imagine in the world of mycology.
Yeah.
These folks have just as a part of their culture. Um, so we need to be learning from those folks for
Wow.
sure, if they want to share, um and yeah.
So somebody else says, I'd love to hear about your approach to connecting with folk who have fears or discomfort interacting with fungi. Thanks so much for your work.
Yes, thank you, great question. um yeah, so it's a visceral thing, right? And we're definitely taught to fear the fungi. And one of the first things is to just be like, well, no mushroom can actually hurt you just by touching it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the first step, right? Because you'll often see people like, don't touch that, with their kids, and it makes sense for your toddler to not touch mushrooms in the lawn. Like that makes a whole lot of sense. But there's a moment where we have this when we're kids and we're naturally curious, when we pick up everything and we're very tactile with it. That's the first step, to just recognize that the toxins that are in mushrooms have to be metabolized in order to hurt you. There are a couple of cases that are exceptions, but they are very rare. Another thing is this idea of like parasitism and breaking down wood and always deconstructing things. This reputation that fungi have. When people learn that there is actually a lot more mutualism than they might have at first understood, I think it casts fungi as less the villain in all of the stories, of ecology. And so the sort of like the two things go hand in hand. You don't have to fear touching them. The thing that comes up in your planter at home is probably doing wonders for the soil. Teach your kids like a healthy, respect for the organism that is growing out of the lawn, and then you can move on from there. There's really, really not much to fear once you start to actually get a little bit of knowledge. Oh, you're muted.
Until we get in more questions, I want to ask some questions about like I hate this word. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Book as project, like as product, right? Like as something people buy. And we hope you do buy it tonight from Charis. But can you talk about like what you hope, like some of what you hope this book will do to readers and their experience and their bodies? And can you also talk about some of what you fear this book could do to readers and their understandings and their bodies? So I wonder if you talk about hope and fear in this project. I think we always talk about what we hope for, but I'm often interested in hearing like writers who I really respect, like if there's anything that they fear from this like project finally being out in the world for consumption.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start with the hope. I do hope that it gets folks who may feel a disconnect from, the land that they live with. I hope it'll get them out, and I hope it'll get them to test things, to test whether they might be more interested than they thought, because it's been proven that even if you don't think that you're enjoying a hike out in nature, it's doing wonders for your system. The cortisol is like evaporating. Your body loves, even if you are not actively loving it, your body is loving it. Proven scientific fact. And we all could use a little bit more of that, I think. A fear, I always am a little bit worried when it comes to especially, okay, so in that first essay, In Search of Junjo, I talk a little bit about an African cosmology that includes mushrooms as kin to people. And I knew that there was some riskiness because I talk about feeling that all things mycelial are kin to me. I knew it was risky to sort of walk this line of an almost appropriative admiration for this culture that was not my own. And so threading the needle, and I hope that I, succeeded in doing this, in thinking in terms of an appreciation that I have for another culture that it has ancient mycophilia, um, while at the same time respecting it and recognizing it as not mine, but also speculating about what could be mine, because as you know, as we know, I don't really know where my folks might be from. So there's, yeah, there's always, I always worry that people will see that and take permission to like
Gotcha.
tread less lightly in
Yeah.
spaces that aren't theirs. So a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah, trying to take my own advice about not everything is for you, not
Right.
everything is for me, right? Not
Right.
everything, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for daring to make something so dope. So like dope on the line, dope essay to essay, wholly just dynamic. I think it pushes those of us who want to make books for a living or make books to live. This book definitely pushes you to do something better and different, and more loving and more radical and more like earthy. Um, so it's done that for me. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for doing this with Great Circle, um, and the good people over there. And I just want to say I feel very lucky to be reading this, to be a reader in the world of this book, and doubly lucky doubly lucky to talk to you tonight. So maybe we can bring ER up and just give thanks.
Thank y'all both so much. This is a beautiful conversation, and I'm just appreciating all of the excitement in the chat as well. I recognize some of the names. I know some of these folks are big mushroom folks, so it's great to see folks here who I know are bringing that passion as well, and some writers and a great mix. So thanks to everybody for watching. You can click the teal button at the bottom center of the screen to buy the book from Charis. It really does help us when you buy event books from us. So thank you. You can also buy all of Kiese's books from us. A God of Sentences as well. So if you have not checked out his work yet, please just pick up any and all. Maria, we really look forward to hopefully seeing you at Charis on a road trip one day, but also just anything in the future that you are working on, we're going to be excited to read. I know you mentioned that you have a writing workshop coming up, and it's online, so I would love for you to share about that so that folks could sign up.
Yes, I will be teaching a workshop called Writing Climate Witness, via Orion Magazine, and I can drop the link to that if you are interested in the chat.
Yes.
It's gonna be 8 weeks starting in January.
Excellent. Thank you. So folks sign up for that. And Kiese, you got anything you want to shout out before we go? I'm
Yeah.
putting you on the spot.
By Fearless, Sleepless, and Deathless. It's one of them ones. That's all. That's all I got.
All right, that's great. Well, thank y'all both so much. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you next time. Have a good
Thanks,
night, y'all.
y'all.
Thank you.